Hey YouTube, gonna do one of the standard drives I've done recently to Memorial Park and then back. So some similar features you've seen before. See if FSD, we're still on FSD 8.1. No changes in, I think today is day 20, so it's been a while since we've had an update. So FSD's engaged, night mode is on, 100% display. Let's see what we get. A little bit of a jog there, interesting. Starting off with a bang. All right, we do have a bike cycler up there. I'm definitely in the middle of the lane. It's clear both directions, so it can creep and decide to go. But now it's gonna have to go around the cyclist. Okay, it's slowing down. It's creating a path. It's not going around though. Okay, he started slowing down. Maybe it couldn't go around because of this bend. Interesting. I probably would have hung out there a little bit longer had he not slowed down for me to pass him. So that wasn't a great interaction there with a cyclist, but there was a bend there, so maybe it was waiting until it could see around the corner before it decided to proceed across the double yellow line to go around him. All right, coming up on the flashing yellow light, which is kind of just a cautionary light for a slow turn to the left. There is a caution sign to use 15 miles an hour on the turn. It did use the blinker. And it slowed all the way down to 9 and then proceeded. A little slower than I would have perhaps said it needed to. All right, coming up on the drawbridge. The drawbridge is down, so there's just green proceed lights, but it does have some kind of crossbars like a railroad track does, and a few other things to check in the visualization for. Looks like it's just mapping the greens with a little bit of pedestrian mapping there on the right. All right, coming up at this intersection here, it's a right turn with a little bit of a turn lane. Right on red is legal if it's red, but it looks like the light is perhaps going to be green this time. So it can just kind of get into that. It's turning yellow now. Okay. So it's got its own turn lane, and it's in the turn lane correctly. It does have a stop line. Oh, it's got a green arrow. Okay, so that time it had the green arrow turning to the right. I forgot that green arrow was there. That was a good example of a stoplight that's kind of off to the right instead of up in the center. So here's these parking spaces to the right. I've been talking about it's trying to draw a white line, but right now it doesn't have a white line, but it's not proceeding over into those spaces, so that's good. It's putting a white line there occasionally, so it's trying. All right, this next intersection, it's kind of got looks like it's gonna have to stop for the first one. Hopefully it does. Yep, it does. Sometimes, I don't know if you guys can see this in the camera, it's got a red and a green behind it, and they're very, very close. And I don't know in the visualization, it doesn't look like it's mapping the greens. It stopped here, not recognizing the green straight. Now this time, the route we're driving, it needs to go straight through this turn. Last time it had a pretty bad interaction because it had a green arrow to the right, but it tried to cross the traffic straight. This time it looks like it might be protected by a lead car and a stoplight, so it's going to go straight here. All right, and just like I mentioned, it's got a lead car and it's proceeding with a protected turn. It is Monday here, but it's a holiday in the United States, President's Day, so these school zones that I'm going through right now are all disabled. School is out of session today. This is a good example of lane centering working okay on this build. It's not creeping over in between these parked cars at all. It's kind of hugging the left line again. No issues there. All right, it still is mapping a green lead car as we go through these yellow flashers. So yellow flasher just means it needs to be cautious. It looks like it's slowing down from 34, 25. Okay, there's a car behind me. It stopped to 22, I think, on that one. That was good. I'd call that cautious as long as it didn't stop. There is a car behind me, so I don't want it to stop. But on that one, it used a little bit different logic. So I'm not sure what logic it's using for those flashers yet. Okay, interesting, up at this next intersection, this traffic light has been switched over to a flashing red, and it looks like we're using it as a right turn anyway, so it needs to treat this flashing red as a stop sign. Autopilot pause, stopping for traffic control, creeping forward, checking for visibility. It's clear, it can continue. It can continue. Okay, boy, it was very unsure of that. If there had been an oncoming car, it went pretty slow. But it did it legally. It treated it like a stop sign, so that was good. All right, at this stop sign, it's a four-way stop with a left turn. This is an interesting route it chose today. It's clear all directions, so I'll just let it do its thing. There's a nice stop. Okay, and now it's going to have to go around a parked truck with flashers. It's going to have to cross the double line to do it. It's going around. It's going around. All right, keep on going. Now, it thinks it has a stop sign, but it doesn't. That's interesting. That Jeep proceeded. It navigated it okay. I'm not sure why it stopped there. I didn't see a traffic sign. If you guys see something that I didn't see, make a comment on that. And we got another flasher up here, so this is a flashing yellow. There's a car to the left here that had a stop with a right. Okay, it slowed down after it crossed the intersection, so that was a little bit of a delayed response if it was for the yellow. Looks like it's trash day, and a lot of these trash bins are being mapped appropriately. Ooh, a little bit of a jog towards that oncoming car, but I let it come back. It did a fine job. Alright, so this Jeep is no longer going to be our lead car. Looks like he just went into a parking space. Now we've got a green light with a proceed straight. Alright. Pedestrian there that stopped. It didn't react at all. Alright, interesting. Pedestrian that entered that stop walk over there, the car did not stop. Legally, that pedestrian entered that crosswalk, the car should have stopped. He wasn't quite halfway, but that's not how the law works here. If there's a pedestrian in this crosswalk, the car should stop. I'm going to mark that one, because that's a little bit of a new scenario. For those of you that are new to the channel, using this snapshot button is for highlighting kind of new scenarios. It's not for reporting every incident. Every disengagement is captured. The snapshot button is for highlights of new or unusual scenarios. Okay, we've got a fallen sign here. Last time it almost hit that sign that was on the ground, but this time the sign wasn't in my lane, so it didn't have to go around it. Okay, we're almost to our destination. It looks like since last time I did this route, a lot of this road construction that gave the car a little bit of trouble on the return has changed. Looks like it's all pulled to the side, so the lanes are open. So it should be a little bit easier for it to proceed, but we won't get another example of trying the same problem twice. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and disengage there and reset in a second. So a summary of that first ride, a little disappointing that the way it handled that first cyclist, but I think it did it okay. But I think that the turn was something it was taking into consideration, which is probably appropriate. Secondly, I think that the excuse me for a second while I reverse here. The other disengagements that happened, you know, were just kind of minor issues. Not perfect, but let's try it again. Okay, I've got the return route entered. It looks like it's mirroring a pretty similar route, so we might just get the reverse course here. Interestingly, I'm at a stop sign and now I've got an emergency vehicle here. It's waiting for it just like a normal car, but it's a good visualization of an emergency vehicle. It's stopping. Okay, now it's just going to creep like a normal stop sign. It's trying to make this kind of angle turn to the left. It's got decent view. Another emergency vehicle is coming. It is going to be able to proceed fine. Very kind of jerky there. I was able to let it go that slow because there was no one kind of in the way. I wish it had kind of committed a little bit more on that turn. Alright, got a signal with a proceed. Right behind a following car, approaching traffic from the right. No hesitation. Proceeded right through. Alright, light just turned yellow with the lead car, nothing unusual here. Pedestrians mapping okay. You can see it lost the pedestrians and then it found them again. So that it's visually seeing the pedestrians. It's even got a nice pedestrian mapped over here to the right. It's at 90 degrees that you can't see in the camera, but they're entering a building right here. There's a cyclist on the other side of the intersection. Looks like it's already starting to map him as a pedestrian. Alright, we're proceeding straight through this intersection, so this is the same route, reverse direction. Lights showing nice and bright green there. Going around a car. Didn't cross the line as much as the lead car. That was a good example of how a lead car might or might not influence the decisions. It looks like it wasn't using the path of the lead car as how to go around that stopped vehicle. All right, the car in front is turning right. We're proceeding straight. All right, lead car is gone. Very good lane centering here. It's hugging in the right portion of the lane. Got an obscured flasher here. Looks like it's slowed down to 29. A little bit of an unusual intersection here where you can see the sign for the road forking. Looks like the car wants to turn right here. We do have a car at the intersection, so it just has to kind of slowly creep. All right. And up to the next stop sign. This is a two-way stop sign, so it'll need to yield to the traffic coming from the other directions. Fortunately, it's in a good place for that rather large truck. He wanted me to move up. Okay, it proceeded. So that last intersection, what I was talking about is recently the car has not been in the right place at the stop line. And occasionally when you're interacting with another car turning your lane, the car doesn't leave enough room for them to interact with. There was just enough room for that large truck to get by me. So it worked out that time, but that's the use case on why the car needs to be over to the right side of the stop line. Going through the flashers again. Notice it's flashing occasionally red there. That red might be part of the logic. I think somebody mentioned that in a comment last time. So here we go. It's got flashing reds here, and then occasionally yellow. So it's going to treat it as a red and then a yellow. So that is a perception problem causing that logic there. I would say that there's really no reason it couldn't see yellow today. It's very overcast. There's great contrast. The colors are very, very clear. So maybe there's just a perception problem. I'm going to mark that. It's a little bit late to mark it, but the neural nets that I believe are doing perception should definitely be able to see the difference between red and yellow. Okay, so we're coming up on that school zone I mentioned on the other drive, but it is not active right now. And those of you that notice, the school zone sign is obscured with this tree right now, and then bam, you can start to see it. So it's kind of a good example of how the cameras are going to have to be able to look through obstacles at times to perceive the right signage. I'll try to continue to add that one on my route. Okay, it needs to go straight here, and it kind of just got into the wrong lane, and now it's fishing its way back. So had there been a car right behind me, that would have been very confusing. I'm not sure why it did that. Yeah, it wouldn't have been for the lead car either, trying to go around them. Getting just a little bit of mist on the windscreen. Alright, this next intersection is just a protected left. There is a green arrow that'll come on, so it should just stay in this left lane and wait on the green arrow. Blinkers on, which is good. I'll just kind of show off the intersection here a little bit. Okay, there's the green arrow. I'm not seeing it showing the green arrow, but obviously it's perceiving it. Okay, we're coming back to the drawbridge. Slow it down just a little bit. No traffic to contend with. Yeah, it is showing a couple of these drawbridge signs on that one that we're just showing as inoperative stop signs. Stop lights, excuse me. Got a car approaching from the right at that suicide intersection of 5 stop signs I frequently test on a new build. Okay, we got another school zone sign that's showing right here as inactive stoplights. Now we've got a stopped car. It's showing red, so it's projecting a nice path around it. It had to cross a double yellow line to do it, so it did that one nice and quickly. Flashing yellow, and it's showing red here. See that? Now it's yellow and red, so it's alternating yellow and red, but it didn't pause at all on that one. Alright, I got a pedestrian bringing some trash out to the side of the road. I don't know how that's going to be mapped, just a pedestrian. Okay, coming up on our destination, so it did a little bit better on the return, I think. A little bit of neural net, maybe perception issues with flashing yellows, perceiving a little bit of red that is making the car stop a little bit more than it should. At least if the visualization that it's showing on the screen is what it's interpreting. That one intersection that I was having trouble remembering on the first drive, where the pedestrian had entered the conditional crosswalk, which means stop if there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk, you can proceed. If there's not one, it didn't seem to recognize that pedestrian in the crosswalk, but we marked that. Other than that, I think in general it's doing a pretty good job. You know, we're at day 20 without a new build, so we're due for a build. So maybe we'll get a 9.0 or another 8.x build and see what's coming up. Hopefully you enjoyed the drive. Please, as always, leave your comments below. Let me know if you see anything that I didn't comment on. That's always insightful for me. Have a great day.